The European Union spends over €6 billion annually on border security operations designed to intercept illegal substance trafficking. This financial commitment represents one of the continent's most expensive security challenges. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, Europe celebrated the end of division. Yet this opening of borders created unforeseen consequences. The collapse of Eastern European communist regimes dismantled old security structures while simultaneously opening new corridors for trafficking networks. The Schengen Agreement, implemented in 1995, eliminated internal border controls between member states. 27 European countries now share open borders. This freedom of movement transformed European life. It also created a security paradox that would cost billions to address. With internal borders dissolved, the European Union's external frontier became the sole barrier against illegal imports. The responsibility shifted to peripheral nations. Greece, Spain, Italy, and Poland found themselves defending not just their own borders but the entire continent's security perimeter. The Balkan Route emerged as the primary corridor following the Soviet Union's dissolution. Substances produced in Afghanistan traveled through Central Asia, crossed into Turkey, then moved through Bulgaria, Serbia, and Hungary into Western Europe. This route handled an estimated 80% of heroin entering the continent. Frontex, the European Border and Coast Guard Agency, was established in 2004 with an initial budget of €6 million. By 2023, its budget exceeded €754 million annually. This 12,000% increase reflects the scale of the challenge and the Union's financial commitment to addressing it. The agency deploys advanced surveillance technology across Europe's frontiers. Thermal imaging cameras cost between €50,000 and €200,000 per unit. Motion detection systems require installation investments ranging from €100,000 to €500,000 per kilometer of border. Drone surveillance programs consume millions in operational costs yearly. Spain's southern coast represents one of Europe's most expensive security zones. The nation spends approximately €1.2 billion annually on maritime and land border operations. High-speed patrol boats cost €3 million each. The Spanish Coast Guard operates 54 vessels dedicated to interception missions along routes from North Africa. Greece faces similar financial burdens. The country's eastern borders with Turkey became critical entry points following the 2015 refugee crisis. Greece allocated €800 million between 2015 and 2020 specifically for border infrastructure. Fencing, surveillance towers, and patrol systems transformed remote frontier regions into militarized zones. The cost extends beyond hardware. Personnel expenses constitute the largest portion of border security budgets. A trained customs officer in Germany earns between €40,000 and €60,000 annually. Border police forces across the EU employ over 120,000 officers dedicated to smuggling prevention. Annual salary costs alone exceed €5 billion. Training programs add additional expenses. Specialized detection training for customs agents costs €15,000 per officer. Drug identification courses, K9 unit training, and advanced interrogation techniques require continuous education investments. The EU spends approximately €200 million yearly on border security training initiatives. Detection technology represents another massive expenditure category. X-ray scanning systems for cargo containers cost between €800,000 and €2 million per unit. Major ports like Rotterdam and Hamburg operate dozens of these machines. Maintenance contracts add 10 to 15% of purchase price annually. Chemical analysis laboratories supporting border operations require sophisticated equipment. Mass spectrometry devices cost €300,000 each. Gas chromatography systems range from €100,000 to €500,000. Every major border crossing maintains at least one fully equipped testing facility. Intelligence gathering operations consume substantial resources that rarely appear in public budgets. Undercover operations, informant networks, and international cooperation agreements involve classified expenditures. Estimates suggest intelligence activities related to trafficking interdiction cost EU nations an additional €1.5 billion annually. The economic impact extends beyond direct security spending. Seized substances represent lost tax revenue that governments never collect. If legalized and taxed, the substances trafficked into Europe would generate an estimated €30 billion in annual tax income based on consumption patterns and standard excise tax rates. Port infrastructure upgrades driven by security concerns add billions to the total cost. Rotterdam invested €2.3 billion between 2010 and 2020 in security enhancements. Hamburg's port security improvements cost €1.8 billion during the same period. These investments were largely necessitated by trafficking prevention requirements. That human cost translates into additional financial burdens. Border patrol agents face dangerous working conditions. Death benefits, disability insurance, and psychological support programs for security personnel cost EU nations approximately €400 million annually. Legal and judicial expenses compound the financial impact. Prosecuting trafficking cases requires specialized courts and investigators. Italy spends €300 million yearly on anti-trafficking legal operations. France allocates €250 million for similar judicial functions. Germany's expenditure exceeds €350 million annually. Prison systems bear substantial costs from trafficking convictions. Housing an inmate in a European prison costs between €80 and €150 per day. With approximately 100,000 individuals incarcerated across Europe for trafficking-related offenses, annual detention costs exceed €3.5 billion. International cooperation agreements require financial commitments beyond Europe's borders. The EU provides funding to Turkey, Morocco, and Balkan nations to enhance their border controls. Between 2016 and 2022, the Union allocated €6.2 billion to third countries for border security assistance and capacity building. Technology continues advancing, demanding constant investment in newer systems. Artificial intelligence surveillance programs are being deployed at major crossing points. Each AI-enhanced border monitoring system costs between €5 and €10 million. Poland announced plans in 2023 to install AI surveillance along its entire eastern border at a projected cost of €2.5 billion. Despite these massive expenditures, effectiveness remains difficult to measure. Interdiction rates vary dramatically between regions. Spanish authorities report seizing approximately 8% of substances crossing their borders. Greek officials estimate capture rates below 5%. The majority of trafficking attempts succeed despite billions spent preventing them. The financial burden divides European nations. Wealthy countries like Germany and France can absorb security costs more easily. Border states like Greece and Bulgaria struggle with expenses that consume significant portions of national budgets. This disparity creates political tensions within the Union regarding cost-sharing arrangements. Climate change introduces new variables affecting border security costs. Rising Mediterranean temperatures are extending the seasonal window for sea crossings. Longer operational seasons require additional personnel, fuel, and equipment expenses. Southern European nations estimate climate-related security cost increases of 15% by 2030. The Schengen system's fundamental design creates its greatest expense. External borders must be perfectly secured because internal checking is abandoned. Any breach at one point compromises the entire zone. This all-or-nothing approach demands maximum investment across thousands of kilometers of frontier. Economic analysis reveals a paradox. The money spent on interdiction exceeds the substance's street value in many cases. A kilogram of cocaine worth €40,000 might require €100,000 in security operations to intercept. The deterrent effect justifies this imbalance according to policymakers. Though economists question the calculation, historical perspective illuminates the escalation. In 1990, combined European border security budgets totaled approximately €2 billion. By 2023, that figure exceeded €15 billion annually. This sevenfold increase occurred during a period when trafficking organizations simultaneously became more sophisticated and harder to combat. The financial commitment shows no signs of decreasing. European Commission projections estimate border security costs will reach €20 billion annually by 2030. New technologies, expanding frontiers, and evolving trafficking methods guarantee continued expenditure growth. Europe's border security apparatus represents one of history's most expensive peacetime mobilizations. The cost of defending against illegal substance flows exceeds many nations' entire defense budgets. Yet the trafficking continues, adapting to each new security measure, ensuring the financial battle remains perpetual. The question facing European policymakers is not whether to spend money on border security, but whether current spending levels represent sustainable policy. The billions invested have created jobs, advanced technology, and established international partnerships. Whether they have meaningfully reduced substance availability remains a matter of ongoing debate and uncertain measurement.